it's officially time to wait. Before I get in any of that, let me just refresh everybody. It's been a few months. This video's sole topic is about a leak, potentially, right? Um, let's just remind ourselves the tragedy that we suffered. We are going to get an event that's from canon that we know is going to happen. They've hinted it. In my opinion, when the rat came up and started licking the blood, that was literally blood and cheese. Symbolism, right? It's one of my favorite episodes of the season. That was episode 5, right? That's when Rhaenyra and, Laenor are supposed to get married, but ultimately not Corey. Kristen Cole savagely beats Joffrey Lonmouth. But because of that, not because of that event at the wedding, but because of the event that we just saw, blood and cheese is going to happen. And in this video, I want to talk about a potential casting, which isn't in and of itself all that exciting if legitimate, but let's just refresh ourselves along that. Please slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be 420. And then also consider checking out my Patreon. If you wondering where Hunt has been, I upload to my Patreon regularly, and you can join for just like $2 and you'll immediately gain content that has never seen the light of day of YouTube. Please consider checking that out, and if you can't, thank you for watching. Now, the casting notice comes from a website known as Redanian Intelligence. Now, normally they do Witcher leaks and stuff, but they occasionally will do some House of the Dragon stuff. Now, they didn't actually name the source in the article. I'll link the source in a comment down below, so you can go read the article for yourself. But basically, they just listed not verbatim, but the casting call goes as follows. Not verbatim, right? They need twins, right? Male and female, right? And also, they have to have silver, pale blonde, or white hair. Not silver, they didn't say that, but like pale blonde, white hair, right? So what that means is that blood and cheese is happening. We've already seen Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, which is potentially who these twins castings are. They are involved in a scene that's blood and cheese. Everybody watching this, you already know, but if you're by chance you are unaware, right? Spoilers, I'll go ahead and say that. Blood and cheese is a moment that is in Fire and Blood caused directly by Daemon, right? So the casting call, I'll explain it here in a second. The casting call came out, and they're looking for twins, right? So if you're in London and you, go check it out, right? So in Fire and Blood, Daemon hires a rat catcher named Cheese, and he hires someone that used to work for him in the Gold Cloaks, but this dude got removed from the Gold Cloaks, and his name is Blood. The reason why he got removed from the Gold Cloaks is supposedly he committed atrocities, right? I would name them in details, but I'm trying to play within the algorithm, right? Don't want to get demonetized here. So he hires the two of them. At this point, he's in Harrenhal, and he sends a note to Rhaenyra after the tragedy that befalls Lucerys and his dragon Erex via Aemond and his dragon Vhagar. He sends Rhaenyra a message, and the message says, getting excited there, an eye for an eye, right? No, son for a son, right? So Rhaenyra receives this message, and the next thing we hear is that Blood and Cheese sneaks their way into what's known as the Tower of the Hand inside the Red Keep. And they go into the Tower of the Hand specifically. It's noted in Fire and Blood that Maegor's Holdfast would be too hard for them to get in and out of, right? So Daemon hires them. He wants them to sneak in, right? And what they're tasked with doing is killing, right? Not just anybody. Killing one of, Aegon's sons, right? So Rhaenyra and Daemon lost a son, even though Lucerys, his father, secretly Harwin Strong. Everybody fake believes that it's Lucerys. Laenor is Lucerys' father, right? In the show, that's what the court is forced to believe, but everyone knows the truth, right? So after, him and Rhaenyra lose a son, he sends the message. He hires these two. They sneak into the Tower of the Hand. Like I said, it's important to note that Maegor's Holdfast is too hard for Blood and Cheese to get in and out of. Maegor's Holdfast is basically a castle within a castle. So Red Keep is the big castle that all the, family in power mostly Targaryens, and then in the more recent A Song of Ice and Fire, the main series, it's been the Baratheons, but secretly Lannisters. Robert Baratheon dies in the first books, and Ned Stark is handed the king all of like one chapter, then he's ultimately thrown into the Black Sails. So really, the Lannisters have retained the most power, or have retained the most power the longest in the main series. But the Targaryens stay in the Red Keep, and then Maegor's Holdfast is in a castle. Is a castle within that. It's got its own moat around it, which is why it's considered its own castle. But then right next to it is the Tower of the Hand. Later on in the main series, Cersei burns and blows it up with wildfire. But Blood and Cheese sneak into the Tower of the Hand, and you're like, okay, who's in there, right? And who's in there? Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and Maelor. Those are all the children, the twins, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera. That's who the casting calls for. And Maelor are in there, and they are with Helaena, and she's forced, right? And Alicent is with him, I believe, or at least that's probably what the DVD extras depict, the animated thing. I'll show it to you right now. But that's besides the point, right? So Helaena is forced to pick which one of her children. That's what's going to be the most terrifying thing to watch, is that Helaena is such an innocent person. The fact that someone's going to force her to pick, it would be terrible to force Alicent to pick, right? But Helena's going to be the one to pick. Sweet, autistic, innocent Helaena is going to be forced to pick which one of her children she wants to see die. And she had absolutely nothing to do with Lucerys dying. That's what this show is about. That's what this war's about. And the innocents dying. Like, the small folk are going to die in great numbers, and that's tragic. And the dragons are going to die. Ultimately, the characters that we're going to spend the most time with, that we're supposed to love on screen or hate, their deaths are going to be tragic, right? So these children, they've had one scene last season, but they're going to be recast. Ultimately, if this rumor is true, they could still use those kids that were used in season 1, but they probably have grown up. So they probably look a lot older than they did when the show was filmed in 2021. So getting back on track here, Helaena, innocent Helaena, is forced to choose which one of her children she wants to see die, and she chooses Maelor, who's the youngest, thinking that he wouldn't know what's going on. Well, Maelor is not the one that's killed, and Blood and Cheese instead killed Jaehaerys, right? They say, you hear that, Maelor? Your mama wants you dead, boy, right? And then they kill Jaehaerys, and that's the king's heir, right? So then Blood and Cheese sneak out with Jaehaerys' head, and Blood is caught at the King's Gate, I believe, trying to exit to go and get his bounty from Daemon and Harrenhal. Daemon is still at, Dragonstone at the end of season 1, but ultimately season 2 it's not hard to get him at Harrenhal. So Flight Away, Caraxes, you get there in like one scene in an episode, right? That's what's awesome about these dragons. We're going to get to see so many locations and still remain in canon because this war affects the 7 kingdoms, right? So that's what happens with Blood and Cheese. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Please consider checking out my Patreon. If you can't do that, that's fine. Thank you for watching. If all you can do is watch, that's amazing. I don't mean to demean watching. That's the most important thing. You're watching here on YouTube, right? But if you're a really big fan of mine, consider joining my Patreon. It's my way to just, in short, no longer be dependent on YouTube's ad revenue. It's inconsistent at best. You can join for just a few dollars, and you'll immediately gain access to everything from reactions to my favorite show growing up, right? Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Eventually, I'll put more reactions of me doing some anime content. And then also, the most important thing, it's what the whole Patreon is about, is this podcast called Leaks and Lore. I do kind of what I just did in this video, just in way more detail, way more depth. And recently, I've started uploading videos there. And the video quality is way better than here on YouTube. It just takes me a while to edit videos for here and for YouTube and for there. So just go consider checking it out if you can. But if not, thank you for watching. Along that, I said, slap a like on this video and turn notifications on. I forgot to do my, my thing, my spiel about that. But yeah, please just turn notifications all the way on. Lot 2 and 11, lot Spinal Tap reference. Thank you for watching. Oh yeah, I'm reading Lord of the Rings. I recently just dropped the Lord of the Rings video earlier today about Tom Bombadil. Go watch it. It's linked down below in the description if you fancy Lord of the Rings.